Amador County Farm Day, bringing agriculture to the classroom.
Hi everybody, my name is Kelsey and I'm going to be talking to you guys about some horse safety today. Introducing my friends here, this is Jack. He is my quarter horse, he's about 12 years old. And then I also have a friend with me, Dally, come here. I have Dally, and this is Dally, my dog, and she's going to help kind of explain to you guys some really fundamental differences between horses and humans. And the dog actually helps with that. So one thing that you can say is that horses and dogs are very different. One of the biggest differences in the horses and the dogs is that horses are prey animals. So a prey animal means that in the wild, they get eaten by other animals. Where dogs, they're predator animals. So that means that they attack and are the ones that eat. So like a lion and a zebra. Dally, come here. So if we look at Dally, something that's very different in her is that she has her eyes in the front of her head. So her eyes are right there in front and she sees straight forward the whole time. Where if we look at Jack, he has eyes on the side of his head. So they're over here where he doesn't see right in front of him. He actually sees all the way around on the sides. And the difference in that is that he is a prey animal. So if you're ever out in anywhere and you're talking with a cow or a sheep or a cat, you guys can tell who is the prey animal and who is the predator animal. So when we look at us as humans, I'll take my glasses off here for you guys so you can see even better. But when we look at us as humans, what are we? Are we prey or are we predator? Do we have eyes on the side of our head or right in front? What do you guys think? Take a second and really think about that. I think we're like the dogs. Our eyes are right there in front of our head in order to see everything right in front. So we are a predator animal. That's important to think about whenever we're dealing with an animal like a horse that's a prey animal. Because their instinct, first and foremost, is it to run away and get away from the prey. And if we are the predator, we have to make sure to make ourselves less scary to these amazing animals. So when we first approach a horse, I'm going to move him over here for us. But when we first approach a horse, when we come up to people, we walk straight at our face and we put out our hand and we shake our hand whenever we're going to meet somebody. But that would be scary to a horse. Because if I were to walk straight up to him like this, he can't actually see me right here in front. If you look, he puts his head away. He naturally moves his head to the side to see me better. Because if I walk straight at him, he can't see me. Another place that he can't see me at all is right underneath his neck down here. Again, you saw me go to that spot. And if you watched really close, because it's a video, you can stop and rewind. You can see really close. And when I went here, he stepped away and looked down at me in order to see me better. So you never want to be directly underneath your horse either. The third spot, which most people all say is correct, is right directly behind. They can't see directly behind them either. So that's something that's important to remember whenever we're approaching a horse. So the first thing we're going to do when we walk up to a horse is we are going to walk up to his shoulder. The shoulder is the safest spot when we first approach a horse. So if I were to walk up, I'm also going to talk to him. I'm going to say, "Hi, Jack. Jack, how are you doing today?" That way he can hear me. He knows I'm approaching. And I'll pet him at the shoulder here. This is the spot that he could see me the best, but he could also see everything around him. You guys may not see it, but there's actually cars by on a road near us. His friend is in the other pasture. So I'm not blocking his vision by walking straight up to his eye. I come to the corner and right here at his shoulder. From here, I can go anywhere on my horse now, especially a good broke horse like Jack. Jack is 12, he's been around a lot of people, he knows a lot of different people. But from here, I can pet his neck, I can pet his ears, I can go down his side, but you'll also notice I have my hand on him the whole time. Now I'm gonna walk around him, so everybody says, don't walk behind a horse. Well, how am I gonna get to the other side of him if I can't walk behind him? I could try jumping over. That idea is not going to work. I could try going under, but wait, we said that was a blind spot. That's not a good idea. I could go really far away and walk all the way around, which works, but sometimes you got to get something done just on the other side of your horse. So the best way, not walking under, because if I were to walk under, I could get squished between this rail and his legs if he were to get scared. Instead, I'm going to walk around, and you're going to see when I walk around, I keep my hand on his butt and I actually stand really close. Because when I'm really close like this, if he were to get scared and kick, his leg would just push me and I would stay right there with him. What a lot of people do is they say, don't walk around the back of a horse, and then they end up being right about here, which is the no zone. This is a bad spot to be in. Look at the length of his leg and where I am at. This is prime kicking spot. I'm doing it right now because I know this horse really well and I know he's not going to kick me, but you also see I'm keeping an eye on him. I'm seeing where I'm doing because this is the worst spot to be in. Even though you're far away, you're actually not far enough away. And so you want to be right up here close if you're going to walk behind a horse. Because like I said, this will only push him and then he knows where we are. Because horses aren't mean, they're actually really gentle and they don't want to hurt us. But like I said, they're prey animals. They might get scared. And a prey animal does something called fight or flight. And so if they get scared, they're either going to fight, which is kicking out, or they're going to flight, which means run away. And if he's tied up, then he can't run away. Now, you guys might be noticing that he keeps moving his butt into me. That's because horses, like I said, are really sweet and he loves having his butt scratched. So he's coming over me, he's like, oh mom, you're here, scratch my booty. But you can see that I'm standing really close as I'm doing it, as well as I'm off to the side just a touch. That way it helps to keep myself safe and him. So now he's moving around, he's doing his thing. We talked about he really wants his butt scratched today. So we said that if we want to move a horse though, how much do you think a horse weighs? Do they weigh like 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 1,000 pounds? I'll give you a little hint. My dog Dally, she weighs about 30 pounds. That's like a bag of dog food. Jack weighs a lot more than that. He weighs more than me. He weighs about 1,200 pounds. That's a lot. And so if we're going to get him to move though, then we need to have him respect what I'm going to do. And so if I want a horse to move away from me, I'm going to ask him nicely and I'm going to push on him. But notice when I'm pushing, I have my fingers like this to push him over. And I push him over nice and gently. I want you to do something on yourself right now. I want you to pick up your palm and hold it nice and flat. And I want you to push, kind of like you might push a friend or push your sibling. And I'm going to put your hand right here on your shoulder and you're going to push. Not so hard you're going to hurt yourself, but just feel what that feels like to push on yourself. It's not too hard to push back. Now I want you to take your finger. And you're going to take that pointy finger and you're going to put that finger in your shoulder and push on it. It kind of hurts more, doesn't it? You don't want to lean against it as hard. That's the same idea with the horses. I can make the horse move away by pushing on my hands. But if he accidentally steps on me or he's being disrespectful and not listening, then I'm going to get my fingers out and I'm going to use all of my fingers to push him over. If he's really not listening and not being good about it, you can even do a little push, 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 push and squeeze with your hands. I'll bring him back around to show you guys that again. So again, I walked on this side. I'm going to move him over by using just my fingertips. So again, we see here we have our hands. If the horse is not doing what we need to, we're going to put our fingers open like a palm, like a bear almost. And we're going to have our hands here. I'm going to push, push, push. And we can kind of get a little bit of a wiggle going. And that will get a horse to move over. That's something that's really important because like we said, this is 1,200 pounds. That can be really hurt if you have your feet stepped on. So it's something you always want to be aware of. people also see we have a lot of tools when we have horses. Something that everybody has is something called a halter. And this is like a dog collar or dog leash. And that's what we have here on his head to kind of help control him. There's a couple different styles that you can use. This one's called a rope halter, and you'll see that it's really thin. There's not a lot going on to it. So it's like when we have our palm versus our finger. So we have another type of halter here that's called like a nylon halter, and this one has a really broad nose. So you can see that this one is like my palm. It's really broad and wide. As when we compare to the one that's on his face, this one is really narrow. It's like my finger. So if you're wanting to have more control over an animal or a horse, you want to have it more narrow, like this one, versus more broad, like this one. And neither one of them are right or wrong. It's just different styles that you can have. A lot of people will say that this one is used more for training, because like we said, when we want to move our horse away, if we want to have them move easier and faster, you want to have a smaller pressure point. So this one might be for training a horse, where this one's kind of more relaxed and can do kind of whatever you want to, just kind of let them be if you're going to be trailering them or doing different things. This one also, you can see, I just moved it, tried to get away with it, but it's broken. So we would not use this one at all, because you don't want to use broken equipment. This would just fall right off of his nose. Other things that people might see when you're riding around with different horses, and a lot of misconceptions, are something that we call spurs. So a lot of people use these different spurs, and I have them here on my feet, and you can see there's a point on the end of my boot. That point again is just like the same idea as the palm versus the finger. So if I want my horse, when I'm riding him, to move over faster and easier, then I would be having what we call our spurs. Spurs are not meant to hurt horses or to be damaging to horses. It's just to get a quicker reaction, just like you would with your palm versus your finger when you're moving them over. With anything, you want to be safe and know how to use a tool. These are big animals, but they're also very sensitive animals. They can feel when a fly lands on their back and move that one specific area on their back. So they're very sensitive, and they can feel what we feel. If we feel scared, they feel scared. If we feel happy, they feel happy. And so it's something that you have to be aware of when you're around a horse. So it's whenever you want to do something, you want to work with somebody who knows a lot about horses. If you ever just want to see a horse, go up to them, say hi to them. Again, you want to remember though that they have eyes on the side of their head. So walking up to them straight ahead is not the best way to go about it. If you see horses out in a field and you want to go pet them, that's okay, but be remembering that these horses are ultimately really afraid of you. So they might not react the way that you would want them to. So if you want to ever go up to a horse, you should always know the horse, just like you should know a dog. You should ask an owner of a dog. You should ask the owner of a horse before you pet anybody else's animals. But you always, again, want to make sure you go up to the shoulder first. That's the most important part. If you need them to move away, you're going to use your fingertips to move them away. And if you're ever going to walk around to the other side of them, you're going to walk really close and keep your hand on them so that way they know where you are. I hope that you guys really enjoyed this presentation and are now able to know a little bit more about horses and safety of horses and why and how you should move around them. If you have any other questions, you can always reach out to the University of California Ag and Natural Resources, also known as UCANR, and they can help with all sorts of different things to learn about horses or anything else agriculture related. Thank you so much.
Amador County Farm Day is brought to you by the University of California Division of Agriculture and Natural Resources 4-H program, the Amador County Farm Bureau, the City of Plymouth, the Amador Resource Conservation District, Charles Spinetta Winery and Vineyard, Tumbas Vineyards, CGDRE Vineyard and Winery, Cooper Vineyards, Sierra Pacific Industries, and your local farmers, ranchers, foresters, and agricultural professionals. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more educational videos.